Welcome to Cyber Espresso Podcast, your quick shot of cybersecurity insights with industry leaders. I welcome today's guest, Michael Paik, an attorney, an AI auditor, and governance architect. Michael, it's my pleasure to host you today.
Good afternoon. Nice to meet you and nice to be here.
Michael, would you like to give a quick overview about yourself?
Sure. Very briefly, I trained and practiced as a lawyer in New York and then California before returning to Korea about 20 years ago. And I pivoted to in-house practice and set up, designed, and managed legal risk management, compliance, and trade compliance teams for industrial companies in tires, shipbuilding, and steel. This was all before AI became available. Um, to kind of the masses. And as that kind of coincided with my leaving my last in-house position, I started focusing on AI as a tool set for risk management and compliance. And that led me ultimately into audit, because I started to look into some of the risks related to AI. And that's how I became an AI auditor.
Very good, very good. My pleasure again to host you. So, as you said, Michael, you are deeply involved in AI and GRC framework. So, how difficult it is to embed accountability and resilience across different jurisdictions?
Absolutely. That I think the last part of what you said, the jurisdictions is also an important element of this. So of course there's the law and the different legal regimes as they're developing in the EU, in the US, both at the federal and at the state level. Here in Asia, Korea and other countries are developing their kind of legal regimes for AI. But the cultural and kind of normal business practice aspects of how risk is addressed is different around the world. So in the US, you have a very active tort bar that will be very happy to sue you for product liability and other uh, issues. But in Asia, it's been very much the case where that we have kind of paternal governments that are very active in kind of managing industry and the kind of balance of how that plays into AI regulation and risk management is important to consider. So the jurisdictional aspect is very important. I'm glad you brought that out. But the fact of the matter is that most of these models are coming out of San Francisco, and we have a new law in California. It actually was signed into law yesterday that will be impactful just because of where these companies are cited and will have global impact. But for companies that are deploying AI, we need to look at all aspects of this: your local concerns, the global concerns, where the models are being developed and how that impacts risk management. It's a very interesting and complex set of factors to consider.
Right. You're absolutely right. Like the new standards, I don't know if the California one that it is basically signed yesterday, but the Europe Union AI Act ISO 42000 are setting the new benchmarks. But in your opinion, do companies truly understand what is going on and are they ready to meet those requirements?
Well, I think, of course, it varies, but I think that most companies um, are also unclear on how to address this. So, the EUA Act is very much a product liability act, and it's focused in large part on high risk systems. But how does that impact us in terms of our own business? That's a question that needs to be determined. With regard to ISO 42001, it's a nice management system. I work with it. But the management system, it doesn't work in isolation. It needs to be peopled. It needs to have processes that work inside of organizations, and some of this is difficult in that many organizations are siloed. So AI, by its nature, it needs to be addressed from many perspectives and really integrated into to risk management and deployment. Um, and so these concerns are complex, and it's all new and it's moving so fast, so that you know it, sometimes it feels like it's really you're just kind of getting a grip on it, but then it's already moved. So, and that's also true of the regulations, right? So this new regulation in California will be impactful, and will need to figure out how it's going to flow through the entire system all the way to users.
Okay. So, Michael, in one of your LinkedIn posts, you wrote slow AI doesn't mean weak AI, it means governed AI. Can you
Yep.
expand on your thoughts, please?
Sure, I'm glad you brought that up. My two things are slow AI and then the final liability resting with the human. So slow AI is about visibility. I think it's very important that one understands not only as an individual user but definitely at the enterprise level how the AI is working, and that is not necessarily an easy thing to understand, given that generative AI in particular is stochastic, and so there's an element of probability that it's not deterministic. So it's different from what we had been uh, used to before. Actually, the closest analogy is actually people, right? So people are also not deterministic. And so as we work with people, we've developed over hundreds of years systems for managing people in organizations for a common objective, and this needs to be developed for AI, taking into account the nature of AI and the fact that it's stochastic and not deterministic. So the visibility aspect is to break it down, take your time, understand what it's doing, and how it's being deployed in your organization. The results can be very very helpful to your organization, but understanding how those pieces all fit together in pursuance of your objectives, I think is very important. So the first part is about visibility. The final liability portion is about basically the idea that it's a human being that needs to be held accountable for all of the decisions related to AI deployment. Not a committee, not some broad function, but my preference would be a named human, because what that does is it creates pressure to really look at how this is working, look at the risks, and to create processes to manage them. Um, and manage mitigations in the event that a risk is realized. So the naming of the human is quite important in the enterprise context in particular. If you're just the user alone for consumer AI, you are also responsible for the output. So in my own use of AI, I put it into the custom instructions to always remind me as a last statement that final liability rests with the human, so that I'm reminded that it's on me what this output will be used for.
Very good, very good. Michael, I appreciate your insights and your availability. I look forward to talking to you or maybe seeing you in other occasions.
Great. Thank you very much.
Take care, Michael. Ciao.